Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another field strip video. I recently did a range report on this B&T APC308 DMR, and I have found this to be a really cool rifle. And because it is the Pro version and the upgraded version, and we have the gas piston system, I thought this gun was worthy of a field strip video. So let's go ahead and take this thing apart, and then we're going to put it back together. As always, we're going to start by removing the magazine and ensuring that there is no ammunition in the magazine. We will then turn the gun over, and of course we will visually inspect that chamber to make sure that there is nothing inside. It looks like we are good. Turn the gun back over. We will put the gun on safe. Now there are three things you may need to have depending on how your gun comes apart and how difficult it is. So we're going to need possibly a light hammer. I always use this little rawhide hammer. You're going to need a punch and possibly a pair of pliers. So the first thing we're going to do is take this punch and the hammer and lightly tap out the takedown pins in the lower. Sometimes these come out easy, sometimes they're a little bit stiff. On this one, because the gun is so new, they're just a little bit stiff. Just push them out just enough, or maybe you can grab them on the other side. Just like this. And then the whole lower receiver should come right off the upper, just like that. And there is our lower receiver. We'll set that aside for right now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the stock and the back of the stock, and we're going to push down on the end plate, and then the stock will simply come out, and there is our hydraulic buffer, just like that. Then we're going to take the charging handle, and we're going to pull back on that, and when the bolt comes back, you should get the recoil spring assembly and the bolt. And we're going to take this apart in just a moment, but you can take the charging handles out by pulling them all the way back to where you have this circular area. Once they are there, we can pull out both sides of the charging handle. Now this is not necessary to clean the gun, but this is how you take it apart if you wanted to. Then I'll just take the recoil spring assembly and I can push out this little part here where the charging handles go into. Set that aside. Then we can go to the front of the firearm, and we're going to take out the gas piston system. This is where you're going to need that little punch. There is a detent right there. I know this is going to be hard to get on camera, but essentially I'm going to push that detent in, and that's going to allow me to turn the gas key and rotate it where it will come out. You have a few settings on this, but once I push that in, I should be able to rotate this all the way out just like that. So here is the gas plug. Here is our piston and spring assembly, and that just comes right out the front like that. And you can take that off right there, and then that is the upper, completely field stripped. Now if you want to take out the bolt, this is where you might need a pair of pliers, and you want to be very careful. So you want to take the bolt and push it back into the carrier all the way, and there's a little spot in there that you might be able to pull out this little piece right here, this cam pin. Sometimes it comes out easy, sometimes it doesn't, depending on how many rounds have been fired through the weapon. This one's a little bit tough. Wait, there we go. I did get that one out. But if you did need to use a pair of pliers, be very careful and very slow. And once it lines up, you can pull it out very gently. And once it comes out, just like that, you can set that aside, and then you can pull out the bolt. So there's your bolt carrier, the gas piston system, the lower, the upper, the stock, the recoil system, all out of this really awesome firearm. All right, so now I need to clean this thing up, and then we're going to put it back together. So we got this rifle all cleaned up and oiled, so let's put it back together. We're going to start with the front of the firearm with the piston system. We're going to take our op rod and put the piston on the front, just like that. We're then going to insert it through the gas block in the front, and I actually find this is the hardest part of reassembly. You got to make sure everything lines up, and that op rod will go into the upper receiver, and you'll know when it goes in correctly because you'll be able to push that piston into the upper just like that. So that's all lined up. We're then going to take the gas plug, make sure the flat surface is downward. We will insert it into the gas block, and then once it's in, you can push in a little bit further and you should be able to rotate it 90 degrees just like that, and then adjust it to make sure all the settings work. So now we have the piston in the upper receiver. Now let's go ahead and install the charging handles. We're going to take this little portion here where the charging handles are inserted to and put this in the upper. Make sure that this open part goes towards the front of the firearm. We will put that in the rear of the receiver. We'll even take our recoil spring assembly and push that forward a little bit where the holes will line up so we can insert the charging handles just like that. You just do one at a time. We'll do the left side first, then we'll go to the right side, insert that one, and this can be a little bit tricky, just like that. And there, our charging handles are now in the upper receiver. So now let's put our bolt and bolt carrier back together. Here we have our bolt and carrier. You want to make sure that the extractor is facing the correct direction. So we'll insert it into the carrier. Then we're going to need to take a punch and push in this little detent right here. And once that is pushed in far enough, you can insert the bolt. Then once again, make sure that extractor is facing the correct direction. When we have that, we can take the cam pin and line it up and insert it into the carrier, making sure that the bolt and the carrier are now one unit. Make sure everything gets lined up. This can be just a little bit tricky. Take your time here. And there we go. Pull the bolt forward. Make sure the cam pin is operating like it should. There's our bolt and bolt carrier all back together. So now let's insert that into the rear of the receiver. Let that go forward. We're going to take our recoil spring assembly, push that into the rear of the bolt. Now we can take our stock, make sure it's down a little bit, push in, and then let it come up. Everything lines up. We can now take our lower receiver, make sure that the takedown pins are out fully. Then make sure all of the holes line up. Then you can push those pins through, just like that. And then you can reinsert the magazine, and then of course, check for function. And it looks like we are good. So there you go, a complete field strip and reassembly of a B&T APC308 DMR Pro. So I hope this video helps somebody in the future, and let me know if you have any questions. So, as always, thanks for watching.